You too, and good evening, everyone. Welcome once again to MSBS Weekly Guided Meditation by Phra Goh. Today is the 16th of August 2022. We are very grateful to have us with us again, Bhante Adhibalo, popularly known as Phra Goh. He was born on July 14, 1985, and was ordained under the Thai Dhammacakkappavattana at Satipatthana in Johor in 2008. Bhante is currently the religious advisor to Buddhist Youth Network Singapore and has been conducting our weekly Tuesday guided meditation since July 2020. This week, we are still continuing on the setting the wheels of motion, of Dhamma in motion. Bhante will be leading the formation, taking of 5 precepts for Buddhists. Now let us compose our minds, our palms together, and welcome Bhante. Over to you, Bhante.
Hey, thank you, Terence. Okay, so we give 3 bows to the Buddha. First bow, second bow, and third bow. So we start off with the opening chant, homage. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. 3 refuges. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dhammang saranang gacchami. Sanghang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. And the 5 precepts. Panatipada viramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Adinadana viramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Kamisu miccacara viramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Musawada viramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Suramiraya majapamadatthana viramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. All right, good evening to everyone. So we are still turning the wheel, setting the wheel of Dhamma in motion. Last week, I think we just finished covering the Noble Eightfold Path. Can't hear anything on Zoom, Musti. So probably you might need to accept the video recording. Can you hear now? Okay, all right. So good evening to everyone, venerables, brothers and sisters of the Dhamma. Yeah, so we are starting halfway actually. Last week we covered the Noble Eightfold Path, so we are going to continue from there. Okay, so now we're going to introduce this concept called the 12 permutations. And it may sound something like very profound, but actually I'm trying to break it down for you. It's actually the Four Noble Truths. Each Noble Truth has 3 phases of learning. So 4 times 3 you get 12. So total 12 permutations. Okay, so the sutta goes like this. Vision arose, insight arose, discernment arose, knowledge arose, illumination arose within me, with regard to things never heard before. So the first one, this is the Noble Truth of stress, which is the first Noble Truth. Then the second permutation is still with regards to the first Noble Truth. And this Noble Truth of stress is to be comprehended. So you still need to understand. So this is the second permutation. And the third permutation, this Noble Truth of stress, has been comprehended. So that is the actualization. So one is, that's why in Buddhism we normally say there are 3 stages of learning. Study, practice, and realize. So these are the 3. First, you need to know, at least get introduced the concept in theory. And second is to practice or experience it. And the third part is to fully realize it. So this is the 3 stages of learning. So the first Noble Truth has these 3 components. And some people may think, how can Four Noble Truths be so difficult? How can Noble Truth of stress be so difficult? Everybody is facing stress. Everybody is suffering. Yeah? So if you go to the very, very, let's say, poor nations, countries which are facing war, they are suffering. Yeah? People injured, suffering. People in the hospitals, they are suffering. But how is it that they do not fulfill these first 3 conditions? So the first, Terence, if you can go back to the definition of the first Noble Truth. Yeah. Okay. So the whole idea is most people face the first 6. Birth, aging, death, associating with unbeloved, separation from loved one, not getting what is stressful. But not many people can actually see the last point. The 5 clinging aggregates are stressful. So they do not see the clinging part, which result in the suffering. So a lot of people do face suffering. A lot of people work very hard at work. Maybe farmers on the field, right? Very hard working people who are facing lots of depression, stress, anxiety. But nobody see the process right before that. What causes the clinging that results in suffering? Right, so that is the ultimate aim. Okay, let's go back to the 12 permutations again. All right, so it is believed that the stream enterer, that means when a person becomes Satipatthana, stream enterer, once they have a glimpse of truth, they have a glimpse of this Four Noble Truths, a glimpse of what is this Nibbana, and once they exit of this peace, then they really understand what is this clinging. So at least the Sotapanna does not have doubt, but only an Arahant, a fully enlightened being, can truly experience the totality, the true source of peace, the total peace, total cessation, right to the process of clinging. They totally understand the entire process. So only an arahant can truly comprehend these 12 permutations. So the first 3 permutation, of course, that includes the Buddha. Of course, the Buddha is also an arahant. We chanted Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato, so the Buddha is also an arahant. Okay, so that covers the first 3. And second set of the 12 permutations, which is the second noble truth. The first one being, this is the noble truth of the origination of stress. So we're talking about the origination of suffering. And the next permutation will mention, this noble truth of the origination of stress is to be abandoned. And the third point, this noble truth of origination of stress has been abandoned. Wow, okay, so this one talk about the third noble truth already, to abandon the origination of stress. Right, so the first 3 permutations talk about what leads to the clinging. What leads to the clinging and suffering. And the second set is to identify the cause of this suffering. All right, so let's move back again to the definition of the second noble truth. Okay, so there we go. So the cause of suffering is 3 kinds of craving as introduced in this Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta: craving for sensuality, craving for becoming, craving for non-becoming. So we normally chant Kama Tanha, Bhava Tanha, Vibhava Tanha, 3 kinds of craving. So to further simplify it, you can talk about greed, hatred, delusion. So craving for sensuality is greed, craving for non-becoming is hatred, and delusion will be craving for becoming. Right, so having both greed and hatred would result in craving for becoming, to enjoy the status quo. Okay, so these 3 kinds of craving will lead to further becoming. So by ending these 3, then one can understand, or one have a good relative comparison between what is origination of stress and what is cessation of stress. If a person does not eliminate craving, for example, let's give an extreme example. Let's say a drug addict or a cigarette, a smoker addict, they have craving for such, let's say, bad habits. But if they have not truly overcome this addiction, then they won't know, right, what is this cause of this craving. They know in theory, yes, they crave for, let's say, the cigarette, but they just want to puff and puff and puff. So that is the idea. So they know in theory there's it's craving, but they do not know how to end. So therefore they do not know the cause of the craving. Right? Only once a person ends this craving or addiction, then they will know what's the cause, what starts this addiction, how does this addiction start from the beginning. Okay, then let's move on to the next set of 12 permutations. Okay, so the third set of permutations will be very repetitive. Vision arose, insight arose, discernment arose, knowledge arose. Illumination arose within me with regard to things never heard before. So the first of the third set will be introducing the third noble truth. This is the noble truth of cessation of stress. So you're talking about ending suffering. So the second point, the noble truth of cessation of stress is to be realized. And the third point, the noble truth of cessation of stress has been realized. So if we go back to the previous set of permutation, right? So it's very close. Yeah? Origination of stress, you abandon it. So you're abandoning the craving. And therefore it will lead to the third set of permutations. Yeah, so there's the cessation of stress. So it's very close. So actually it's like combination, a bit like combination of the second noble truth with the third noble truth. Okay, then we move on to the definition again of the third noble truth. So balik. Okay, so the third noble truth is actually cessation, right? So what's the definition of cessation? The remainderless fading and cessation, renunciation, relinquishment, release, and letting go of that very craving. So we're talking about greed, hatred, delusion, craving for sensuality, craving for becoming, craving for non-becoming. So if a person were to cease or let go of that craving, then that is cessation of stress. But interestingly, this one, they never mention cessation of thinking. So some people think cessation means must stop thinking. But the definition here only mentions cessation of craving, not cessation of thinking. Right? So there's a lot of this common misunderstanding floating around, and a lot of practitioners think, okay, I must stop thinking. They meditate, then they don't want to do anything, and they daydream. So that's not how it's supposed to be. So the Dhamma wheel, Eightfold Path, require lots of this right thought and right effort. So lots of thinking. So there's no such thing as, how do you call it, cessation of all kinds of thinking. So thinking still goes on, six sense bases still there. Okay, next. Okay, let me move on to the fourth point, the last three sets of permutation, which talks about the fourth noble truth. This is the noble truth of the way of practice leading to the cessation of stress. So that is actually the Noble Eightfold Path. Then the second permutation mentioned, this noble truth of the way of practice leading to cessation of stress is to be developed. Right, so that's to develop the Noble Eightfold Path, right, to cultivate right view all the way to right concentration, right, to be developed. And the third point, this noble truth of the way of practice leading to the cessation of stress has been developed. So a person has fully developed the Noble Eightfold Path. Right, so only enlightened being can fully develop it. Right, so so these 12 permutations is the summary of an enlightened being. So it's to it's more like a KPI or checklist. See which one you have accomplished or fully understood or fully realized. So that's for the 12th. Okay, then we move back again to revisit the path. So that's the fourth noble truth, which is the Noble Eightfold Path. So we have right view, right resolve, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. So the past two lessons we've been talking about the definition of all these Noble Eightfold Path, which is quite long. So we can move on. Okay. All right, so that's the declaration by the Buddha. And monks, as long as this, by 3 round, 12 permutation, knowledge and vision concerning these Four Noble Truths as they have come to be was not pure, I did not claim to have directly awakened to the right self-awakening, unexcelled in the cosmos with its devas, maras, and brahmas. In this generation with its contemplatives and brahmans, its royalty and common folk. So this claim, right? Normally we call this the lion's roar. There's another term for it, lion's roar. So if a person were to like declare their state of enlightenment, it's a very bold, very daring approach to claim, right? So because there are so many different spiritual practitioners with different beliefs, so by making a claim that if you are enlightened, it's very competitive. It may contradict with lots of schools, lots of other schools. So only a person who is like very sure and knows to not say debunk, at least you can logic out minimally to your point of view, and there's no more doubt, total confidence, and you experience it, then you declare. And the Buddha was actually very particular about these kind of claims, especially within the Sangha. So if any Sangha member were to claim that they are enlightened or reach stages of enlightenment, but it's not true. If it is an intentional lie, it becomes a disrobing offense. So it's very serious. So the Buddha, he was very particular. He's very particular about the quality control. Because once an unenlightened person were to say they're enlightened, then everyone will start to follow that unenlightened person. Or the devotees and practitioners will start to listen, and they give all the wrong instructions or the wrong practice, and there goes the religion. So the Buddha was very particular. So if a person were to intentionally lie about these states of realization, it becomes a disrobing offense. So that was how serious. And if let's say it's an unintentional one, if let's say it's overconfidence, then it's classified as another kind of minor offense. But if a person do realize something and they do claim also, and it becomes another minor offense. So in this day and age, if those law-abiding monastics won't claim anything, so no claim, no disclaimer, no claiming, no nothing. Okay, so that is the current market. So sometimes when people start to make claims, oh, this guy is a living Arahant, this guy is whatever, living Buddha. So a lot of monks are very cautious and very, how do you call it, lots of red flags. So that is the current market now. Okay, so they are mentioning if it's not pure, right, he would not have claimed. So the next paragraph, but as soon as this, my 3-round 12 permutation knowledge and vision concerning these 4 noble truths as they have come to be was truly pure, then I did claim to have directly awakened to the right self-awakening unexcelled in the cosmos with its devas, maras, and brahmas. In this generation with its contemplatives and brahmans, its royalty and common folk, knowledge and vision arose in me. Unprovoked is my release. This is the last birth. There is now no further becoming. Okay, so this last sentence has become like a trademark, a lot of like a bit like copy and paste for most Arahant's declaration. So if you look at the suttas, any account of anyone getting enlightened, they will mention this. This is the last birth. There is now no further becoming. So does that mean all the Arahants can see their next birth or their previous birth? So if a person were to approach it from a very academic point of view, there's a high tendency, that people will believe that enlightened beings must be able to know their past lives, able to see, where will they be heading. So this birth and becoming, you can actually look back at the second noble truth again, which is the three kinds of craving which will lead to becoming. So if a person overcomes the three kinds of craving, then they will no more have they will know that they will not have any more further becoming. So of course, if you look at accounts of arahants without any psychic abilities, without the abilities of looking at past lives and so on, they will also make this declaration. They will also make this declaration. So what is this birth they're talking about? What is this further becoming which they're talking about? So this one has to be experienced by the practitioner. So again, this is my personal take, would be the sense of ego or the sense of self, right? If the ego and self arises, that is becoming. You become, you exist. And but if the ego or the self dissolute, start to disappear with the lack of craving, then that is no more becoming, no more existence of the self. So that's how at least an individual can detect. Okay, next slide, if there is any. Okay, so we are going to continue. That is what the Blessed One said. Gratified, the group of 5 monks delighted in the Blessed One's words. And while this explanation was being given, there arose to Venerable Kondanya the dustless, stainless Dhamma eye. Whatever is subject to origination is all subject to cessation. So actually, this is sort of the end of the main part of the sermon, at least the content-wise, as in what the Buddha was about to pitch to the 5 disciples. And one of them understood, which is Venerable Kondanya. So Venerable Kondanya was the first one of the, is it 12 or 13? One of the phrenologists that looked at the 32 marks of the Buddha when he was a baby, right? Right at the palace, the king, which is the Buddha's father, requested, I think 12, if I'm not wrong, 12 of these phrenologists to take a look at the bodily marks. So he's a very unique child. He's not like an ordinary human-looking person. So it has like very distinctive features. So I won't want to name all these 32 marks. And this Venerable Kondanya was the only person that suggested that this Prince Gautama, which is the current Buddha, will eventually become a Buddha, will become enlightened. Whereas all the other phrenologists will mention, okay, this Prince Gautama will become a great king. So this is the only guy which has faith and confidence in his skill, his art of this body reading. Yeah, and he has so much faith that he brought along 4 more of his students to follow the ascetic Gautama before he got enlightened, to attend to him, hoping that after the Buddha got enlightened, they will be the first to receive the teachings, which they eventually did. So their efforts sort of paid off, even though they sort of abandoned the Buddha halfway when he stopped his fasting and started eating normally and bathing in the river and stuff like that. Okay, so their efforts were not gone to waste, and they received the first teaching. And he's the first one, right, to gain enlightenment eventually, right? So at least he got this Satipatthana, stream entry. So he got the Dhamma eye. So at this point of time, Venerable Kondanya still wasn't fully enlightened. Yeah, he got this stream entry, which is the glimpse of the truth. Okay, so I shall end here and open the floor to Q&A. Any questions on the ground? Anyone? Nobody? How about the comments in the Facebook chat?
Bante, I have
Yeah.
one.
Okay.
What do you mean by this? My 3 rounds.
The 3 round will be the 3 points for each noble truth.
3 points for each noble truth. Why you call it my 3 round?
Okay, so the first round would be stress, cause of stress, origination of stress, cessation, and the path leading to the cessation. So this is the first round. Second round will be the second points, all the second points. And the noble truth of stress is to be comprehended. This noble truth of origination of stress is to be abandoned. So that is the second round. And the third round would be, this noble truth of stress has been comprehended. So the third round will be the actualizations. So that's the 3 round.
Thank you, Bante.
Okay, no problem. So it sounds confusing initially, but once you do a bit of math, then it makes sense. Okay, anyone else? No one? Any questions? Straightforward, right? Okay, that means my job of explaining is maybe very good. Okay, or either that, maybe people fall asleep. Okay, then I shall go for a 5-minute break. In the meantime, you can do some contemplation, stretching, go to the bathroom, whatever it is. I'll see you back in 5 minutes' time for the guided meditation. Okay, I'm back. So basically the takeaway of this 12 permutations or this particular sutta is basically we should keep on reflecting on the Four Noble Truths. It's never too old to keep revisiting.
Bante, I think it's probably no exaggeration to say that, okay, this is probably the most important, at least this sutta, this particular sutta is the most important reason for us to come, okay, to attend these Tuesday meetings. I mean, at least this is the most important target for, the group of, brothers and sisters, who, converge on every Tuesday evening to attend this lesson. It should give us the target, a very clear target that, even if we don't achieve the final goal within this lifetime, there is there's something to strive for, as a human being, isn't it?
Yeah, very good. So it's called Kalyana Mittas. Okay, so while waiting for one more person, anyone here has anything to ask or comment? Okay, if not, we can start. Seems like everyone's here, so we can mute the microphones. Find a comfortable sitting posture. Make sure our back is upright. And the rest of the body relaxed. All right, we are going to do the same routine. The first phase of the meditation will be the impurities of the body meditation. So we're going to visualize all the hairs of the head, hairs of the body. So any non-practitioner, when they have contact with any sense object, because they never apply the Eightfold Path, no right thoughts all the way to no right mindfulness and so on, then the mind will naturally get pulled by greed or hatred. If it's a pleasant feeling, let's say the hairs look very nice, then you'll tend to develop greed. And if the hairs look awful, then a person will have aversion. So that's what most people will experience. So if you want to walk the middle path, you need to spin the Eightfold Path wheel. So we start off with the right thought, which is to wish all the hairs well and happy. And since we are seated, we are not engaged in any verbal or bodily kind of misconduct. So it's more on the mental focus. And not just one thought only, we need repetition. Any new image arise when we visualize a new patch of hair, then that again is subject to clinging and leading to either greed or hatred. So every time a new image arises, we wish it well and happy. New image arises, wish it well and happy. So you do this to all the hairs from head to toe. And we also need to take note of the Four Noble Truths in action. So when we generate right thought, does the craving of aversion reduce? And what is this correlation between this craving and becoming, or we call this ego? Okay, and if your mind is quite calm, then we can introduce the other contemplation on impermanence, thoughts of non-greed. So all these hairs go through birth, aging, sickness, and passing away. So we can think of them growing and falling, many, many cycles. No need to over-imagine or over-dramatize. Just hairs growing and falling. And the same thing, we can check whether the craving is reduced and what's the correlation of calmness with craving or craving with this ego, this becoming. Once the mind actually stay put and enjoy any kind of sensation or any kind of peace and just let it do nothing, then naturally this clinging will arise. This becoming will arise. Then we can ask ourselves, are these hairs truly self? Can we tell the hairs not to go through birth and death? So if after impermanence, then you can observe the state of mind, how much unclinging you have sort of reached. So it's a bit like your high score, so you know how much detachment you have. And now we move on to the next part of the body. We're going to think of your nails, fingernails and toenails, and we wish them well and happy. So once you stop impermanence, then something heavy will settle in again. Once you have wished all the nails with loving kindness, then we are going to again introduce impermanence, thoughts of impermanence. So all these nails go through birth, aging, sickness, and passing away. So we can think of the nails growing and falling, many, many cycles. So we keep spinning the wheel, not stopping, right effort, right thought. So actually, if let's say a person does have lots of time, they can just do one particular step, visualizing the nails all the hairs, as birth and death, rising and passing, and all the way until they reach enlightenment, like the story of this Arahant Sivari. He just observed the impermanence of his hair while being shaved, and he got enlightened. So depends on individuals' faculties. Okay, and we are going to ask ourselves, are these nails truly self? Can we tell the nails not to go through birth and death? So the next part of the body, we're going to visualize the teeth, and we're going to wish all the teeth well and happy, upper rows of teeth and lower rows of teeth, may they be well and happy. And all these teeth go through birth, aging, sickness, and passing away. So you can think of the teeth growing and falling, many cycles. Even though the teeth fall off the most twice, we can keep repeating this growing and falling process. It's a mental detachment exercise. And even if you cannot visualize your teeth or any part of the body that exactly look like you, doesn't matter. Not many people have 100% photographic memory. So what happens is these parts of the body are your 5 clinging aggregates. So how reliable is perception? The memory of your teeth. So when we think of impermanence of the teeth, we are not training the teeth, we are training how to let go clinging of the 5 aggregates. we can ask ourselves, are these teeth truly self? Can we tell the teeth not to go through birth and death? Or actually any of the 5 aggregates of the teeth not to go through birth and death? So the next part of the body, we're going to visualize the skin. We wish all the skin well and happy. From head to toe, every patch of skin, we wish them well and happy. And all the skin go through birth, aging, sickness, and passing away. So they keep growing and falling, many, many cycles. So this birth, aging, sickness, and death is part of the first noble truth. What's the difference between suffering and not suffering from this thick kind of thinking? So it's all about clinging. If a person just stays on with one process and not the entirety of arising and passing, once there's a bit of perception of permanence, definitely the mind will latch and cling. So if I were to think, oh, my skin so beautiful, then once you think of a bit of aging or wrinkling only, cannot take it really. Then you start to feel lots of stress or suffering. Need to get beauty product, need to see skin specialist, a lot of suffering. So if you were to perceive this arising and passing, birth and death, growing and falling of the skin, sort of frequent enough, then there will be dispassion and detachment. So not that you totally ignore your skin. At a mundane level, yes, we still need to wash our face, but emotionally, there's lack of clinging. And we can ask ourselves, are these skin truly self? Can we tell the skin not to go through birth and death? Okay, and we are moving on to the second phase of meditation, which is the four sublime states, and again subjected to the time we have. So we're going to feel the four elements of the body. No need to visualize anymore, just feeling of sensations. So the sensations are comprised of the four elements. So the earth element represents any hard and soft sensations. Fire would be hot and cold. Wind would be any kind of fast and slow movements. And water, moist or dry. So there is no need to deliberately create those sensations. No need to control, no pushing, no clinging. Yeah? So we let them appear naturally by itself. And when they appear, we just wish them well and happy. So this is a real-time observation. And whatever comes at us, we just make peace with all these new sensations. So even this is part of the 5 aggregates. So we are not training to control the elements. We are learning to make peace with them and eventually detach from these elements. Okay, and once the mind is relatively calm, then again we can take note some reduction of craving, of aversion. And we can take note of the state of mind. So next we are going to wish all beings in all directions well and happy. Above, below and all across. No need to push your mind, let it extend naturally by itself. And no need to visualize how all sentient beings look like. You're just going to let the mind extend and encompass all sentient beings along the way. And we are going to perceive all these sentient beings as the four elements and the five aggregates. So that would be the lowest common denominator, non-discriminative, covers all sentient beings. So whatever sensation you detect again, we wish all beings well and happy. So we add two important words inside the wish, which is all beings. So when you detect a new sensation, we wish all beings well and happy. New sensation arise, may all beings be well and happy. So it doesn't matter near or far, large or small area. So you keep spinning the wheel, keep wishing all beings well and happy. So the more we generate right thought, then the more the mind will settle down. And this wishing of all beings well and happy may lead to the first level of concentration. And so that's part of right concentration, which is denoted by the emotion of joy and happiness. And again, whatever we experience, continue to spin the wheel. Even if it's a concentrated state, keep wishing all beings well and happy. Once you hold on to one spoke of the wheel and not let the wheel turn, then you're not spinning the wheel. Yeah? Okay, and next we add some insight to the practice, and we're going to contemplate on impermanence. All beings, all sensations arise and pass away every moment. So we keep observing arising and passing of all the elements, all the sensations. And how do we know that there is detachment? The initial ceasing of this craving will manifest this symptom of joy. As part of the 7 factors of enlightenment, once you contemplate enough of impermanence, this piti, this joy should arise when there's detachment. And whatever one experiences, continue to be mindful of impermanence. Okay, so this combination of loving kindness and insight may lead to the 4th level of concentration, which is denoted by the emotion of equanimity. So if, let's say, the emotion of joy or happiness start to dissipate, and eventually one should experience this emotion of equanimity, neutral but refreshing kind of emotion. And similarly, continue spinning the wheel, mindful of impermanence. Once we stay still and idle with the supposedly contentment or peace, and the mind somehow will naturally cling on to that nice sensation, and that will also result in stress. So that's the jhanic stress. Okay, so we move on to the next sublime state, which is compassion. So for compassion, we wish all beings may they be free from suffering. So similarly, we are using the common denominator. All beings experience or are made up of the 4 elements and 5 aggregates. Every time any of us experience any sensation of the elements, they are subject to clinging and suffering. So every time we detect a new sensation, we wish all beings may they be free from suffering. Yeah, may they not cling and suffer. So all beings include those who are rich or poor, hungry or not hungry, sick or healthy. So all beings will experience these sensations. And we generate this right thought every moment with every sensation. That is to cut off clinging to the dramas in the mind. So this wishing of all beings free from suffering may lead to the second level of concentration, which is denoted by again joy and happiness. So some people may think compassion, how can I have joy on? So that is the concentrative kind of compassion. And regardless of what one may experience, we continue to wish all beings free from clinging and suffering, no matter how joyful or happy it is. Once we just idle there and enjoy, then that's it. Then naturally there'll be clinging, and there's also suffering in that state of joy. So we are not rejecting that experience, we are not holding on to them, we are treating them as passing sceneries along our journey. So we keep spinning the wheel keep traveling. Okay, so now we move on to the third sublime state, because we are going to go through the four levels of concentration, hopefully. Then this time it's appreciative joy. So we're going to rejoice in the accomplishments of all sentient beings, appreciation of what we have, or gratitude. So basically it's changing of perspective. All beings will experience all these elements and aggregates, and every time when we detect a new sensation, we also gain a new experience. So every moment we can rejoice with all sentient beings. So that is the non-discriminative approach, regardless of who is successful or not successful, who wins, who loses. We rejoice for every moment experience. So the rejoicing with all beings may lead to the third level of concentration, which is denoted by happiness. So it's a different pleasant emotion compared to the previous level of concentration. So this time there's no more joy, just happiness. And of course that itself is worth rejoicing. So you keep on rejoicing no matter what we experience. And we move on to the fourth sublime state, which is equanimity. So earlier on we may already have experienced equanimity with loving kindness, with insight. So this time around we start off with the ground-up approach. We're going to reflect on karma. So the concept is we reap what we sow. So all beings will experience karmas. And of course no need to over-imagine or speculate what we've done in the past. We just experience moment to moment, anytime pleasant sensation appear, that's good karmas ripening. If unpleasant sensation appear, that's bad karmas ripening. And if a neutral sensation appear, that's good neutral karmas ripening. So in short, all experiences are conditioned by karma. So you can also equate this to karmic formations. In the fourth aggregate, we call this mental formations. It's the same as karmic formations. That's how these sensations come to be. They're formed due to the caused or conditioned by karmas. So the contemplation of karmas every moment may lead to equanimity. So that's the fourth level of concentration. If one experiences this emotion of equanimity, neutral but uplifting kind of experience, okay, then probably that's the ripening of the karma of our time. Time's almost up, so before we end the session, we can, just a gentle reminder, we still can maintain right mindfulness, right thought every moment, be it standing, sitting, walking, lying down, either generate thoughts of goodwill or thoughts of impermanence. So with that, we can gently open our eyes, formally end the session, but informally still can generate good thoughts. Okay. So anyone, any questions, any problems? All okay? Some people enter deep states of peace. Okay, so if there's nothing, then we can do the concluding chant. And this month happened to be the 7-month festival, Hungry Ghost Festival. So ghost or not, we still dedicate. Akasatha ca bhumata devanaga mahidika punyang tang anumoditva cirang rakantu loka sasanang etavata ca amhihi sampadang punya sampadang sabbe deva sabbe bhuta sabbe sattva anumodantu sabba sampati siddhya. Dedication of merits to departed. Idang me nyatinang hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo. Idang me nyatinang hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo. Idang me nyatinang hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo. Aspiration. Imina punya kamena mame bala samagamo. Satang samagamo hotu yavani bana patiya. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, so that's the end for tonight. Any announcements from Terence? Okay, if not, then we can end the session, and good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bante.
Okay, no
Good
problem.
night, brothers and sisters.
Thank you,
Good
God.
night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.